So, your coil pots, you do not have to start with a coil and spiral outward for the base of your coil pot. You can if you would like, but you could also use a slab of clay or a patty of clay. And so I'm just taking a small piece of clay here, turning it into a nice pancake. Get it about the spot as I need it. That's pretty good. So I've got my base of my pot. Pretty quick and easy to make. Now coils. You don't need to start with a whole ton of clay. This much right here is a good starting amount for a coil of clay. So what I'm doing is pinching it out into a coil in my hand to begin with. After this point, it's starting to get a little bit harder to make into a nice round coil. One thing I like to do when I'm rolling coils is add a little bit of water to the table, because as you're rolling these will dry out. At first it's going to be slippy all over the place, but that will stop. But I will add water periodically to my coils when they start feeling like they're getting too dry. So, to properly roll a coil, you should keep your hands touching each other. It could be that you have them crisscross like this, or touching with the thumbs, but keeping your hands so that they move at the same rate is really helpful for rolling out good coils. If your hands are independent of each other, your coils will not likely turn out very well. So keep your hands touched. Make yourself extra room if you have to. One thing that you'll want to do when you're rolling out coils is use your entire hand, not just the tips of your fingers or the palms. So go from tip all the way to the palm, even into your wrist. Some larger coils, I'll use my entire arm to roll out a coil. But for these sizes of coils, use your entire hand. That's a decent coil. Like, your coil doesn't have to be better than that. It may be, but it doesn't have to be better than that when you're working with it. And it doesn't have to be that long. I'm going to show another demonstration of a coil a problem that you might run into, and how to fix that problem pretty quickly. So I'll get my table prepped, get the coil prepped. So while you are rolling it out, you may end up having a coil that is not round, one that might be oval in form. So if your coil is oval, it's going to be really hard to roll. It's going to be like slump, glump, 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 or going down, and it's going to get more oval. An easy way to fix that: hold one side from moving, roll the other side so that it twists up. When you're twisting that up, you are creating the high, or you are bringing together the high and low points. And you'll roll it a little bit, twist it again, keep on rolling it and keep on twisting. If it continues to turn into an oval-shaped coil, then you're going to want to use this method. And I use it even when my coils are working out pretty well, because it allows you to make some really consistent coils. Oops, that is a piece? Nope. One other thing to pay attention to is if your coils start opening up on the ends, you're going to want to pinch that shut. Because what will happen is if you let it continue, it's going to create like a hollow tube, but a very bad hollow tube. And it'll be kind of hard to roll out, and it will end up being problems. You might have leaky coils, or you might have, when it dries, you might have coils break apart. And in the kiln, they might blow up inside the skin. All right, so we know that we need to score and slip, and we also know that we need to knit these together. Oh, where did I put my slip? Oh, there it is. Okay, so get a little bit of water on there. Score. If you've got a really nice tool to use, you can make scoring and slipping a lot quicker. If you want to make one of these, ask me how and I'll teach you. So one thing that works a little bit better than the water is having actual slip. This stuff is just really wet clay. When you're working with coils, the clay should be pretty soft, so you don't have to add as much slip, but you'll still want to. So I'm pressing down kind of firmly. When I'm pressing down, I'm reshaping this coil. And it's even being lengthened just a little bit as I'm going around. Get to the end, or to the next joint. Score again. And you're going to want to do this for every coil. Score and slip. In the end, if I continue this pot, it could end up being a pretty large coil pot. This base right here is big enough for a 2-foot tall pot. So now I've got 4 layers. They're kind of getting smeared together already because of how much pressure I use. You don't have to use that much. If you want your coils to show off a lot, then you're going to want to score and slip them, but you're going to want to lay those coils on top a little bit more lightly. But you still need to knit one side or the other of your coil pot. To do that, you're going to want to let your clay dry out a little bit more, because right now this is still got a lot of slip on it. I'll go around and add another coil real quick. Coil pots can go really quickly, and they can go quickly enough that you'll get to a point where your coil pot doesn't hold itself up because it's too soft of clay at the bottom and it starts collapsing on itself. If you need to have your coil pot go inward, you're going to want to add the coils to the inside of the coil and not just directly on top, because this clay is going to be pinched and thinned out as you're working it. And when you do that, it's just going to force it outward. If you run into an area that's a little bit lower than you would like it, then just add a little extra coil to that area. Not too big of a deal. Let's see. So these coils, because I am working a little bit quicker than I normally would, they're not holding together real well. If I just let it dry like this, it could become a problem. But so I'm going to start knitting them together. What I'm doing is I'm just smearing those coils together so that that clay is blended. And I go both directions. I'll go up and down to smear that clay. But this is what knitting is. Just taking that clay and smearing it together. And after you've gotten that step done, then you can go back off from the inside and start thinning it out to that 1/4 of an inch. So this will be using just your pinch pot technique. So those pinch pot skills you learned will help you determine how thick your clay is on the inside. And then it just goes up from there. Questions? No? So that means you're ready to start. Okay, let's get to work.
I